dream. So many seconds, so many minutes, so many songs that went out of rhythm, but we're still waiting for our time to come. And here it comes. Somewhere inside of your head are all those words left unsaid, but I've got some more songs to sing. I've got some more songs to sing. And I went back where I came. I never expected what remained to be the same, but we're the same. We're all the same. We're all the same. We're all the same. Hey! Somewhere inside of your head are all those words left unsaid, but I've got some more songs to sing.
are listening to Extra Time, driven by Continental. I'm Andrew Wiebe in my apartment in Brooklyn. These, as always, my partners in soccer, David Goss, Matt Doyle, Charlie Davies. Another late night in the Audi 2020 MLS Cup playoffs. A night that I thought was going to have more chaotic energy. I'm not going to lie. I thought this game, Seattle-Dallas, was going to give us a little taste of last year. I thought it was going to be back and forth, up and down. Turns out the Sounders' big stars came through for them. And I'm talking about Shane O'Neill with the only goal in this game. 1-0. It's the inevitable. You know, you can do everything. You can try your hardest. But you know what? Sounders are just going to keep marching on. And they will, on to the Western Conference Finals, where they will await either the winner of that Sporting KC Minnesota game. Whoever gets that done will be there on Thursday on Big Fox. That's a huge game. Let's talk about it. Let's preview that one. Let's talk a little Greg Vanney. Let's burn the midnight oil once again, boys. Who has something to wake me up a little bit from this match? Who has something to get me juiced? Because I'm struggling a little bit. I've hit a little bit of a playoff wall, and I never expected that for myself.
I was actually pretty into this game because I have had a problem with the Sounders all year. Anytime they were playing a team that dropped men behind the ball, they were always just going to lump in a ton of useless crosses. They did it repeatedly against the Timbers in particular in 2020. And against this Dallas dropped men behind the ball. I know they were dangerous a couple times on the break in the first half, but they were mostly playing in very deep banks of four, or kind of like a 4-4-1-1 with Riquarte trying to cut off service to João Paulo and not letting him initiate. And the Sounders can get frustrated in that situation, and they didn't. They actually worked really hard to try to carve out some pretty good looks in the first half. Now, they weren't sharp enough, and the looks were falling to guys like Nuhu, which is not exactly what you want. This pullback right here to Rui Diaz was, again, a nice sequence of play. But they weren't sharp enough, and like you said, Wiebe, on nights like that, you just got to count on your best player, Shane O'Neill, to deliver in the clutch.
And we laugh because this is a team that has so many options that you just it's like it's not funny, but it's just the Sounders. It's like they have all these different weapons, and then it's the guy you don't expect, and that's why it feels so inevitable when they get in these moments. It's because it isn't just their top three that deliver. It's literally everyone, including the post, and what I think was probably the most dangerous opportunity for FC Dallas. They just find a way. It's just it just feels like you can't stop them.
And to Doyle's point, I thought it was a pretty even game, so it was fun to watch in that respect. Dallas didn't have a ton of possession, but I thought they were more purposeful with it than at least against Portland for large stretches of that game. I thought moving Riquarte out of deeper midfield where he looks completely uncomfortable was better, and Tessman was an addition in that spot. Obviously, Jesus Ferreira having a struggle of a year, but Franco Jara doesn't show up at all in this game. Riquarte had moments, but wasn't the strongest player. And then Doyle talked about it before we even got on. I forgot Santiago Mosquera was still a DP for this team. So this has kind of been Dallas's story every year in the postseason is they just can't get goals, and then they spend money in the attack to try and improve it, and those guys never show up in the postseason. And I thought, Jara kind of gets through one in Portland. They got by it. This is a game where it's like, now show what you're capable of. And you saw at times, I thought it was a quiet game for Brian Reynolds. This is an 18-year-old. He needs those players to lean on, and he never got that opportunity throughout this game.
Well, I'll go one step further. You look at FC Dallas. They only scored 28 goals this year. This isn't a dangerous team. This isn't a team that strikes fear in your eyes. And Franco Jara had 11 touches. 11 touches. That's not enough. You're not winning a playoff game for Seattle Sounders on the road with 11 touches, and you're the star striker. So for me, like Doyle and I think Kalen has said as well, like this is when you give Ricardo Pepi a chance. Or at least you get him in with at the 60th minute.
How did I not get referenced in the Pepi thing? I've been Pepi trained for 4.5 years, and everyone, Kalen gets mentioned.
David was on with Kalen earlier today. That's why.
I'll have to get thrown out of this apartment for yelling, but it's worth it.
Yeah, well, see, now you're jacking Wiebe up.
That's true. I have a smile on my face. I'm here for this.
Dallas they didn't do enough to win. No. They didn't do it. They did enough to keep it close, but that's not winning the game. And so when you watch that FC Dallas tonight, yes, they made the game difficult for Seattle. Jordan Morris didn't have a good game. Raul Ruiz Diaz wasn't involved that much. He didn't have a good game. Nico Ladero had to work really hard, but still never really got going because they were locking off all the key players. With that said, João Paulo did enough. He got on the ball. He tried to build a game for Seattle, and they figured, let's just win this game on a set piece. They did what they needed to do to get to the next round, and that is a championship team. That is culture. That is why they're a dynasty, and now they're waiting for SKC and Minnesota, and I think when you look at those two teams, they're like, give us SKC. Give us SKC. We'll go to the road. We'll play SKC. You guys can say, they'll take Minnesota at home. I would say they want SKC because SKC likes to play. They'll come at you. And that back line, I've been saying it from day one, cannot handle Raul Ruidiaz, Jordan Morris, and Ladero.
Charlie's drooling. Charlie might try to get on the plane and see.
He's
if
like,
he
I can't give you 10 minutes, and I want to be a part of this. Did we learn anything new about Seattle in this game, or is this just ho hum, get the job done, hard hat, lunch pail, like?
Well, we talked about it on the last show. At that round, with 8 teams left in this competition or more, I think all of us said we take Seattle over the field. And this is why. Their floor is so high that with the teams left and the way teams have come together in 2020, if they go into games and play okay, they can win and continue to move on. And if they play well, they're going to blow a lot of teams out in the postseason. They're comfortable being uncomfortable. They don't really care if they don't have the ball for large segments because they know they'll break. They know they have Jordan in that space. They know Ruidiaz can do it in the postseason, so they know they're going to get goals, which takes a lot of the pressure off that back line to sort of be perfect. And now in a situation where they're going to play at home, they don't really have to sit and defend that much, which is their biggest problem with that back line. No one's really been able to show it, LAFC a few times, because everyone's coming to Seattle and they're not able to dominate the game and push forward. So I think this is what we thought about Seattle, and this is kind of a perfect year for them because fluid soccer is hard.
Did you really think that Seattle wasn't going to lump in 25, 30 crosses tonight?
I think they would win the game if they did, though. They would have won this game. They scored in a corner.
See, I don't know about – because I think the only time Dallas would have been dangerous against them is on the counterattack. And Seattle's shot discipline and their cross discipline was really high tonight, and that basically never allowed Dallas to get it. Like the couple of chances Dallas had, they actually manufactured from very good stuff of their own, and they put, they rocked Seattle back on their heels a little bit, and there was some good interplay. It wasn't the back-to-front dynamism that we see from this team when they're playing well, though. Taquito just unplugged my monitor, so I can't see you guys. What's up? You're back. Wiebe wanted chaotic energy. I got
here we go. Let's go, Taquito.
Did you give him some catnip?
Go for the Taquito. Go for the face, man.
Anytime he hears Charlie's voice, he just lights up. This guy loves it. He's your guy.
Yeah.
But no, like I was really impressed. Maybe I'm I don't know, maybe I'm delirious or something. I was really impressed with the game that I saw tonight. I know it wasn't like wild end-to-end, really crisp play, but I thought these were two teams with very clear game plans and ideas of how they wanted to execute it. And, it wasn't an A+ performance in terms of that execution, but I liked the ideas out there. So the choice for me that Luchi Gonzalez had to make, and this is what Charlie was kind of saying. Dallas, they're not a dynamic team. They're not really an explosive attacking team, except for when they get both of their fullbacks forward. And that was what I think that's what they were trying to play the final 15, 20 minutes for was, okay, we can take out Nelson. We'll drop Hollingshead back. We'll add another attacker in there. And both Hollingshead and Reynolds on the right side will get forward at the same time. And I thought once that happened, Hollingshead in position to make plays like, crosses like that. Once that happened, the game did open up a little bit. But even so, Seattle was kind of ready for that. So it was, I don't know. It felt like a fun game to me. I understand why other people maybe feel a little bit differently, but that was good soccer.
Doyle, can I ask you this? Because I don't understand this now 2 games in a row. Why not just play Ryan Hollingshead at left back? Ask him to be a little more reserved, but have his ability at that position the whole game. John Nelson doesn't go forward, but he's not a better defender than Ryan Hollingshead. And that's what I've not understood. And Hollingshead has to cover more ground in midfield and then drop back. I haven't understood. It's not to knock Hollingshead, right? His
I think
quality has shown.
No, I think it's because their DPs don't score. Their DPs stink. So they the only person on this team who can score a goal is Ryan Hollingshead. So maybe
Because your
he's the
converted
player-
midfielder turned left back,
Yeah.
late bloomer.
To further that, it's if Franco Jara cannot score goals by himself and he needs all the help in the world, why aren't you starting Michael Barrios? Knowing what he did last year in the playoffs at Seattle, we saw he came in, he made an instant impact. Play him from the beginning.
Because Michael Barrios was also choked in the playoffs for three of the last 4 years.
Last year, he
But, like,
created both goals.
Yeah, he created a couple goals, and like especially if you know you're going to be counterattacking for
Yeah,
like
exactly.
the entire 90. Well, if not the entire, at least the first 60 minutes. Why not have Barrios out there to put the fear of God
we
a little bit into Seattle?
We can't do the whole why not start Barrios, because every year we do. They shouldn't have started Barrios, and when a team relies on Michael Barrios, they always
we do
win.
not. We do not.
I've never said that. I've never said don't start Michael Barrios.
Against Portland the year before against Seattle, he missed
every
chances
time
every
I've
year.
played against Michael Barrios. Every time he's lit up whoever he's playing against, and usually it was Chris Tierney. Struck the fear of
You
God.
should have brought Chris Tierney in.
Whoa! You gotta make the beeping noises before you run back the bus over Chris Tierney, man. Like beep, beep.
Think of Dallas, because you usually had Fabian Castillo and then you have Michael Barrios. You just had two speedy wingers, and you knew these outside backs knew every time you were playing against FC Dallas, you're like, oh, like let's just get this game over with, because I know it's going to be a long one. Michael Barrios is just going to cause problems, and we saw what he did to Nuhu. Megged him, got a cross off. Like now
what was his other play? He hit the post because he never finishes.
Oh my gosh!
In big games, I understand the attributes he brings to the game, but I have been to Dallas playoff games where everyone in the crowd is yelling at his name the entire time because he cannot finish consistently in big moments.
I'm with Dave on this one. I think the alternative, though, is that you don't have people that are creating the sort of opportunities that he does, even if they don't always come off. Like that hit the post, but it came back for an opportunity that got blocked off the goal line. I don't know. Let's talk more about Seattle in a second, but finish off on Dallas. When you look at their year, and we all, I think, wanted to see more of Pepe, no doubt about that, but we did get Tessman in this game. You see Brian Reynolds take a huge step forward. You saw Reggie Cannon, not only get into the national team and become a regular, but be sold to Europe and is now trying to do his thing there and kind of flying the flag. Where does this sort of project stand, the philosophy stand? Because that's so much of what we focus on with FC Dallas. Because, frankly, they haven't gotten the trophies other than that shield. But they have been a team that really has shown other clubs in MLS what can be done on the youth development front. And it's only getting better, it seems, every single year.
My perspective is that the youth development front has been largely excellent. It's never going to be linear. I don't think you could reasonably say that this year has been better than last year was for Dallas on developmental front, even though they did sell Reggie Cannon and they did discover in Brian Reynolds someone who has a ton of upside at right back, and they did get Tessman in. It just wasn't as good a year. But the other aspect of the youth development front is that if you do it really well, you can survive having multiple misses on your DPs. I mean, their DPs are Santiago Mosquera and Brian Acosta and Franco Jara. That's not good enough. So having guys like Tessman and Reynolds and Pepe being able to step in and soak up minutes, not just soak up minutes, but actually win you some games, that has given Dallas more flexibility. But I will say this, the last time Dallas had an elite DP, it was Mauro Diaz back in 2016 before he did his Achilles. And they won the Shield and they won the U.S. Open Cup. And if he hadn't done his Achilles, they might have won the domestic treble. They probably would have been favorites going into the MLS Cup playoffs that year. If they are able to get a DP like that in 2020 or 2021 or 2022, then I think we're talking about a team that will regularly be amongst the elite. But as it is, they're almost hard capped with what they can be based upon how they're built right now with the types of players that they have had in those big time spots.
I would also add, and I'm hoping this is a 2020 thing, we never saw, I think, the possession and flow that you wanted to see from them as a progression from last year. I think, and from talking to everyone around the league, that's just a reality of the way this season was. It was so hard for teams to put ideas together and have consistent lineups and things like that and travel and all that stuff. So I'm hoping they kind of turn back towards that in 2021 and doing it through these young players, because I think that's the system they build through the youth academy. And that's one of the things we saw last year was Pomacol and Ferreira and Cervania and then Tessman this year. They're prepared to play on the ball. They want to play under pressure. They don't mind it. The guys they actually brought in have made that harder to do, it looks like Frank O'Hara in this game. So my hope is they kind of lean back towards that over the course of next season.
Who does the Seattle Sounders want? Charlie's got Sporting Kansas City. He's very
so try
sure.
that again, Wiebe. Who does the Seattle Sounders want? Say it again.
Hey man, look, it is. I'm really struggling in that. I'm telling you, I'm tired. I've hit a wall. I appreciate you giving me a lot of leeway in that front. Like, you know, the best friends in the world will point out your biggest flaws.
There are 3 teams Seattle Sounders could get in the next round. They could get Minnesota, they can get SKC without Pulido, and they can get SKC with Pulido. No one wants to play the
third
third
with
team.
Pulido, but it depends on which Pulido. Bench Pulido or starting Pulido? I can't see a
either
scenario in
way
which he starts.
brings quality as
No.
it exists
There's
otherwise.
there's a big difference, though.
That's fair. Okay.
Yeah.
Charlie, explain.
If when Polito's in the lineup, his ability to drop into those spaces, like we see Raul Ruiz drop deep, but he's a better playmaker when he's on the ball. So now Johnny Russell, Kyrie Shelton, Jerso, whoever is on the wings, can really have a lot of space in behind because he'll draw center backs out. He'll draw people out of position to create more space and gaps for Sporting Kansas City when they attack, making them much more dynamic, and they can keep possession in the attacking half. And then they're good in transition. When they do win the ball, they go right at you and they're aggressive. And that's why you usually hate playing Sporting Kansas City, especially when they're playing at home. They are just relentless. They keep coming in waves. They play good soccer. And then without Pulido, it's kind of like you don't know what you're going to get. It's guys are just, running all in different directions and the combinations aren't there. They're looking to try and generate chances. They leave so many gaps wide open because some guys are trying to do too much without Pulido. And then all of a sudden you're putting their defenders in bad positions. And we've seen what happens when Sporting Kansas City gets put in bad positions. So I think from Minnesota's standpoint, they're entering this game. They're hoping Alan Pulido's not there because he makes a big difference. And if he's not, then I think Minnesota, because they are really a complete team, and if they play defensive, they can create opportunities through the counter. They can create opportunities off set pieces. If San Jose is scoring 3 goals, you're telling me Minnesota's not going to score 3 goals?
Yeah.
So would that make Minnesota the
favorites? Yeah, I think that any way you look at it, Minnesota are favorites against Sporting Kansas City, and then if they move on to play Seattle, absolutely lead pipe cinch favorites. Minnesota United.
Well, but here's the complicating factor here. If Alan Pulido starts, Sporting Kansas City are also favorites. So then you have a dual favorite situation.
I know
all of a sudden, all of a sudden, all
Wiebe.
bets are off. You don't even know what to do in
going.
that situation. You have no idea.
I know where Weeby's going. I know where you're going.
Let's just look. I think that the Sounders will want Minnesota. They will want to play at home. They will look at Minnesota and say, we have more talent than they do. I think on pretty much every line, and we have faith in ourselves to do it there. I don't think they want the possibility of Alan Pulido and Sporting Kansas City in Kansas City on all the complications that travel brings.
But to Charlie's point,
Yeah.
the things that Seattle struggles with and the things they do well, it's not unreasonable to think they'd rather play SKC, a team that will want possession and struggles at the back versus Minnesota, who's going to try and sit deep and hit you on the counter. The home part, I think, is what really changes it. I don't think KC has fans right now. I don't think you want to go there and play if you can avoid it and you can stay
Seattle's
home.
not what it used to be. I'm telling you that right now. Without their fans, it takes a good bit of that significance away from the match.
Got to jump in here and remind folks. Wednesday was the original listing on this match. It got pushed to Thursday. That's 8:30 p.m. Eastern on Big Fox. Yes, Big Fox. The Fox that comes via your bunny ears. The Fox that if you have a digital antenna you can get. The Fox that
Can we
is
just say
F-R-E-E.
Fox? Can we just say
Digital
Fox?
antenna, baby.
We can say Big Fox. What's wrong with Big Fox?
I'll tell you why. This is my grievance with
Big Fox is just a coyote.
this is my grievance. Big Fox. We MLS Major League Soccer deserves to be on Fox. Period. So Big Fox, Little Fox. Why make the difference? Because then
Okay.
you're saying like, oh, it's a special occasion. No, Major League Soccer should always be on Big Fox. So just keep it at Fox.
Whoa!
So it
But you
becomes
just
Billionaire
used Big
Voice
Fox,
Club
so now you're
energy
confusing
right here.
everybody. And you're,
so it becomes just standard. That's my point.
Boom.
before we get to Greg Vanny and get people on the road to go to bed, because it is at 12:30 Eastern time here, what do you think of the underdog battle between Peter Vermees and Adrian Heath? I personally hope that Peter Vermees knew that Adrian would play the card, and so he had to play the card first, so that when Adrian played the card, it would be extra confusing. And then I personally want to believe that Peter was like semi-trolling Adrian on it, but probably not. Maybe that's just like my own like narrative-driven world. This just seems bizarre. Why are they saying this? Why is this what both sides want to lean on in this particular moment when you have a 1 seed in the Western Conference saying that they're the underdogs and a team that has said this over and over as they've won games and advanced in the playoffs? Yeah, nobody has an answer for that, right?
Well,
I think they did it for you.
you're-
If I'm being honest, I think Peter just did it for you.
Oh, that's what
Peter knew how happy it would make
a
you.
little gift.
Well,
Just
let's-
a
Hearing you might
beautiful
be in
gift.
the area, he wants.
let's also be honest. A lot of people don't buy into Sporting Kansas City. They finished first in the West.
You think Peter Vermees is one of them?
No, I'm saying the exterior. So like if you're looking at Sporting Kansas City from the outside and you're like, they finished first in the West, but it was kind of a fluke. It was kind of, they fell into it because of the teams they're playing. They're not playing.
Charlie, you don't have to say a lot of people. You can just say I. you don't have to say a lot of people. Like
Okay.
A lot of people on this show.
Yeah,
Okay.
there are many people.
So he feels, I would assume that Peter Vermees feels like, okay, people don't give us the credit we deserve. Let me use that as fuel
Fair.
for this locker room. And he should. And Adrian Heath is thinking, hey, that's my job. Don't take that away from me. Don't you dare put that hex on me.
I've been doing that. That's my bit.
What
Don't
the
take
hell?
that away from
Do
me.
you think if Sporting win MLS Cup this year, Peter will call out Charlie the way that Schmetz called out Bobby last year? Is
I
this
think
going to be?
it was bad.
Is this going to end up being like an ETR thing?
I mean, that would be a beautiful moment. I'm not gonna lie. I would go in the intro. There's no doubt about that. We would
Oh,
put
yeah.
that right
It
into
would be the
intro.
ultimate mailbag.
Yes.
Peter
We
doing
might
it on
actually,
the
for the intro, need to put back to back the Peter, we're the underdogs, and Adrian saying, no, we are.
We're gonna
We
get
might
a
have to figure out
South
how to
New
do that.
Jersey phone number text right as SKC wins. I'm on the field, Charlie. We called it. I told you.
Yeah. That should be all right. Let's get out of here. But first, Greg Vanny. This is the biggest news of the day. In some ways, it stole some thunder from the playoff game tonight because it has such long tentacles. Like, this is a domino game here with the open coaching positions in MLS. And when Greg Vanny, who's done incredible things in Toronto for 7 years, won trophies, changed a club, elevated players, decides it's time for him to move on, and then says, yeah, but I still have an itch. It's not like I'm going to walk away for too long. And oh, by the way, there's a team across the country that he played his first professional minutes for, was an integral part of the club, an original for the Galaxy, was in their academy for a time, and has an open coaching position and needs somebody to take on a project. I mean, my first thought, I wrote it, I'm not original in this. There's so many people who thought it was, this is Greg Vanny headed to the Galaxy. Am I too quick on the trigger on that one? Or is that, because it just feels inevitable. It feels obvious and inevitable and like the right thing for all parties.
Yeah, that was my first reaction as well. There's a lot going on behind, but I think one of the things is stability for him. What's the future for Michael Bradley and Josie Altstory? And as that changes, what's the like long and short term future of Toronto FC? And you look at the Galaxy where everyone knows it's a build. So he's going to get security there while he can't guarantee success that he's not going to get in Toronto. You said all the connections he has to the club. And I think one of the things he wants to do is connect an academy to the first team. He's tried at Toronto. It hasn't worked exactly how we hoped it would. And he started in the academy in Toronto. So he knows those players. He knows the group. He hasn't had, whether it's the talent or the situations, although Ayo Akinola worked out pretty well this year, for it to go through. So I think there's a lot that makes sense with him with the Galaxy. And it's unfortunate because I think we talked to Charlie called Seattle a dynasty. I think Toronto is as well. They didn't maybe finish because they can't win in penalty kicks. They went to 3 or 4 finals. They went to a CCL final. They've won how many Canadian championships? They won a supporter shield. They are this group is one of the great teams. What did they end up in our bracket? Top 4?
It's not a dynasty though.
Okay, whatever you. Well, I don't know. Okay.
No.
I'm old
They
enough to
flirted-
remember.
they-
I'm old enough to remember the pre-show when David was like, "No, we don't even want to talk about
know.
anything on the show." Okay, give us another 10 minutes. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
you're welcome. And so I think that it's unfortunate that that's over because it is over in Toronto. And you look at what happened in the playoffs this year.
They're quoting that right there.
Feel free, enjoy it, and I hope it gets better. But I think that this is the final step in the closing of a door from what I think was, whatever you want to call it, one of the most entertaining, exciting, and best teams in MLS history, including experiences and market and all that stuff.
Don't doubt Ali Curtis. Don't doubt him. Don't
Well,
doubt him.
I think that's part of it, right? Like Greg Vanney was not Bill Manning's pick, and he was not Ali Curtis's pick. He was hired by Tim Leiweke back in the day, and I guess Bez back in the day. If Vanney goes to the Galaxy, he will be the choice of Chris Klein and of Dennis DeClosa. He will go someplace where the decision makers wanted him specifically. He is their guy. They are tied together like that. Now up in Toronto, Bill Manning and Ali Curtis will get the chance to do that with whoever they choose to fill his shoes.
How mind
And they
blowing
are.
is that, though?
And what's that?
Like how successful he's been.
Yeah,
You'd have any idea that you're looking for someone else.
It speaks well of him as a coach, and he's had to deal with a lot of stuff. And remember that Toronto team was a disaster. They were a disaster before Greg Vanney, and of course, a lot of other people got there as well to fix it. And he deserves all the credit in the world. 7 years is a great run at any club, and I don't blame him at all for deciding it's time to look somewhere else and start something anew. And it should. I mean, maybe Toronto needs some fresh ideas as well, and they just opened up a DP slot as well. So whoever the new coach is will get to say, go out there and get my guy, spend a little bit on that, and maybe it'll be a new look Toronto FC next year.
Can I ask you this? Because I don't have one. Did one obvious name come to mind when it became open?
I think if you're any MLS team in a big market at this point, you're just praying that Nice fires Patrick Vieira at some point. And then your ownership group is like getting the biggest bag of cash possible and being like, please come back to MLS. Like he's the obvious one in terms of what he did with the young players and his pedigree and his success in the league and just his stature as both a human being and a coach and a player. But there's no one as obvious for Toronto as Greg Vanney seems to be for LA.
Yeah.
I feel like, to me, Greg Vanney seems like the updated, and like he doesn't have the resume that Bruce had when he went to the Galaxy when they were just in the dumps and trying to tear their way out, but still had the talent. But he has what I would call it's like almost the modern version in a lot of ways. Our team is a project. Our team needs to be rebuilt. Greg Vanney has all the pieces to do it. He has the experience now. He has what the Galaxy crave, which is rings and championships and the ability to compete for them, but not finish in penalty kicks, though he's not the one taking them, Dave, so I respect your dynasty take. Like, he has it all. He has it all for this team, and he has connections to the area and the club, and he understands the culture. We had a bunch of people in my mentions when I was pumping this up this morning being like, Galaxy fans be like, not for me. I'm like, what the heck have you been, what, are you insane? Like, you've gone through
tracksuits. That's
yeah,
why.
like the last couple years haven't shown you that like maybe the shiny toy that you think might be incoming is not going to be. This team needs stability.
If I was Atlanta United,
need
I'm
like
going
5
hard
years.
for Vieira. I'm with Doyle. I'm dropping the bag on Patrick Vieira because that makes a whole lot of sense bringing Patrick Vieira to Atlanta.
I mean, he's not leaving unless he gets canned in France. But
yeah, but I know they're not happy.
Yeah,
at Nice. So.
Yeah, we'll see. Open coaching spots.
It would be
a
better league with Patrick Vieira in it.
Would love it. Would love it. Anything you guys want to add before we get out of here? Let people go about that. Remember, after that Thursday game, again, 8:30 p.m. Eastern on just regular old Fox, Sporting KC Minnesota. We will be here for the postgame show. That will also be the podcast on that day, so don't go looking at 5 p.m. Eastern. No point in doing that before the game happens. We'll be there afterwards, and then we'll put it out.
I got one thing. I got one thing.
Go for
it. Is anyone surprised at some of the names that have been left off the rosters, or basically the options not taken?
Oh yeah.
None really jump out yet, right?
BWP did surprise me a little bit.
I think that's Brad saying, you don't get me for that cheap, easy deal I did last year. I was really good, and they were renegotiating.
Okay, that's fair.
That's my guess, because
That's
Murillo
fair.
as well was left off LAFC's, but they have to sign him
Right.
because he was on loan. Yeah,
It's been a slow trickle.
there's been a few homegrowns that I thought teams were going to stick with a little longer that I was a little surprised by, but not anyone who's produced at a high level that really has deserved to stick around.
This is very extra time, and then at the very end, we're like, who got cut that we're interested in? Of course, all the coverage
Thomas
is coming
Martinez
in
available, guys. Hey, Charlie, New
run out
Hampshire.
there.
The New Gashers. Thomas Martinez, you're number 10.
That's about his level.
And that's it for us. We'll see you on Thursday,
Oh
everybody.
man, Thomas Martinez, the comment section pissed right now.
He's coming. He's coming with better.
Another Thomas has been killing the news side of these roster moves. That's Thomas Bogart. I don't know if he goes by Thomas, but Tom Bogart. Tommy Bogart's got you
Tommy
on that one.
Scoops.
Tommy Scoops. We're out of here. Enjoy your night, everybody. If you're on the West Coast or Central Time or you're just a night owl. For the rest of you, go to bed. We'll see you on Thursday.